It's Friday, Feedback Friday, the feedbackiest day of the week. It's Feedback Friday. And yep, that's the T. Bullying works. I am out of Stop Killing Games. I am out. I can't do it. I lasted less than a week and I'm done. Nope. I'm going to talk about Superman because, you know, the problem I have with this stuff is it's too complicated and people didn't respect what I asked about things like, oh, don't, stay hinged, don't freak out, and don't ask me to watch 3-hour videos. And why people thought that I didn't know about the existing 3-hour videos when that is exactly why I was saying, don't ask me to watch 3-hour videos. I got about 12 different explanations about what Stop Killing Games is. And that's a messaging problem. I'm from the days of the Jack Thompson days when the video game industry avoided legislation like the plague because it's a Pandora's box. And while I believe in consumer protection, there has to be limits. But that's all I'm going to say. For the record, I'm happy that people signed the petition. I said that end at the last video. I'm happy people signed the European Union petition. There's no problem with the European Union petition. Good for you. There's more to the Stop Killing Games movement than that one petition, but it doesn't matter what I say because this has become irrational. And that doesn't mean I had no good conversations about it. I had some good conversations about it, but I'm just raw. I'm done. People brought up stuff that I didn't say, that I have no awareness of. I don't have 18 hours to watch, and people comparing me to people they think are totally in bad faith because, oh, well, you just didn't have the time. Well, then I'm not the same at all. These arguments don't make any sense. They do not deal with my central issue in the slightest. And there's really no putting this toothpaste back in the tube because it's just toxic now and nobody's terribly in a listening mood. As somebody who's worked in games, as somebody who understands more than the average person about the business side of games, the belief that companies will just continue to operate in regions with more restrictive standards and will not pull out of markets with more restrictive standards, I believe is too idealistic. I think it's too rosy. I think there's a very real risk that companies will just go, fuck Europe, especially Chinese companies. And keep in mind that the new subsidiary of Ubisoft is partially owned by Tencent. This is a company that is deciding what it's going to do for this new company now. It's not formed yet. There's a very good chance that they're going to go, we're not going to set up in France because we'll get an easier ride of it somewhere else. And I don't like double standards. I don't like a lack of clarity. I especially don't like a lack of clarity when it comes to law. And video games are unique. It will take some time to sort out. And I don't want to deal with anybody who can't check their emotions with this conversation. When you have someone in front of you and you have an opportunity to make your pitch. The worst thing you can do is go, you don't understand. You're uninformed. You don't know anything. Watch this and go to this and go to this and nuh-uh. It's gotta be simple. This is what we're doing. This is why we're doing it. And ironically, this is where we're going to stop. And there is no agreement on when this thing stops. And at that point, it's like, nope, we're talking legislation. I'm not doing this. Nope. And let's talk about Superman, because I'm sure people will scream at me for that. You know, a lot of the comments approach the level of bullying. It did. I had to explain to someone in DMs this week why what they did was bullying. And then condescension. I was like, oh, I didn't intend to. Okay, but look what you did. Well, I see that now. We've already been through this so many goddamn times. How many times does this sector have to look like enraged children before we do better? Like, seriously. And that's the thing about Superman, is it's all about doing better. And that's why I have huge hopes for this movie. I haven't seen it yet. And that's already been politicized. Fox News got a hold of it. Holy shit. This is why we can't have nice things. And people were fighting in my goddamn comment section about whether Superman is woke. And nobody's seen the fucking movie. It wasn't possible to see the fucking movie when those comments were dropped. It's just an interview comment taken out of context and then decontextualized further and decontextualized further and decontextualized further. And all I want to do is just watch games and play movies and, you know, just I'll play what I want to play. I won't play what I don't want to play. And this bullshit wrong think nonsense is not good for anyone. If you can't have a conversation about a Superman movie or consumer protection laws, which is nerdy as shit, without completely losing your mind, something's really wrong. And, you know, I know Ross said don't harass people, which is why I put thing at the end of the video saying don't harass Ross. But you ain't listening. You ain't. You're just not. It's just people are fighting each other in the comments, and I had to step in a few places and say, cut it out. Don't do that. People going, you're dangerous. Like, no. No. This will get worked out. Legislation, they haven't even dealt with the damn loot box shit. It's going to take a long time. So everybody calm the fuck down. Calm the fuck down about games. Calm the fuck down about movies. Calm the fuck down about TV shows. Like, seriously, it's not good for you. And when things get this enraged, it's the problem a lot of these movements have. They miss stuff that if they just listen to people who have concerns, they'll be able to pivot better and refine messaging. And don't do that at your own peril. Look at Black Lives Matter. Look at, you know, the pro-trans movement. Black Lives Matter especially had a huge amount of goodwill and support. And they complicated their messaging. They started asking for too much. They scared the shit out of Main Street. And where are they now? It can happen to everybody. If it can happen to that, like that used to be a motherhood cause. If they can get derailed by really shitty tactics, things that are far less important can as well. And one of the things that happened there was overreach on demands. You gotta be real careful that we are asking for this and no further. And you have to be prepared to not get everything you want. So if somebody is willing to go, look, I can agree with you on this and I can agree with you on that. Go, that's great. Okay, we can agree on that. Let's work together. Not, you didn't watch this and you didn't, like, it is just. And similarly, with a Superman movie, with a superpowered dog, and a trailer that has a kaiju in it, because someone mentioned the word immigrant, which I had no idea how charged this was, okay? Because to me, it was simple. It was, yes, there is, Superman came from space and crash landed on Earth. He immigrated from orbit. That is his backstory. One of his creators was a child of immigrants. The other was an immigrant himself from Canada, the US. Most people don't consider that immigration, but these days, trust me, a lot of Canadians are a little nervous crossing the border. There isn't just one kind of immigrant. Frickin' chill. You're talking about the immigrants of the 1930s. That's the origin of the freaking character. That's undeniable. That has very little to do with the modern immigration debate. We're through at least 3 rounds of law reforms on this. So if you can't handle Superman as a form of immigrant, that is not the problem of the movie. I'm going to do the help support this channel now. I could really use it. Help support this channel. Become a monthly patron. Patreon.com/LeannaK. Or buy a one-time Leanna Care session for someone who can use it but can't afford it. Coffee.com/LeannaK. I was thinking about doing more gaming content, and now I'm going to give it a real second thought. I'm sort of done with pop culture stuff because it's gotten so... James Gunn, by his own statement, has attempted to make a movie about kindness. He is attempting to make a movie about a good man. And he is doing it from a humble place. They are deliberately, the tracking last I checked was about 130 million. But DC and James Gunn are saying we'll be happy with 100. Because, yeah, they do have some brand recovery to do on this. There's no denying that. And there's a lot of movies out this summer. But I don't know of any movie James Gunn has made so far that has been politically pedantic. I like his movies. If you don't, that's fine. But this idea that because of one comment in an interview, everybody loses their mind. This is not a foregone conclusion. This is people making choices. And I think that we need more stories about simple virtues like kindness. And I really appreciated the people who said, thank you for making that video. It really resonated with me. That is more powerful than the 100 shitty comments I got on Tuesday's video, right? That what you said here really spoke to me. You can disagree with other things, but that is worth more than all the bile and vitriol and anger and accusations and you're not informed. And then, that's nothing. That's noise. That's chum in the waters. It's just a bloody mess. And I want to be clear, this isn't upsetting because my feelings are hurt. This is upsetting because I've seen games and gamers get fucked by this kind of phenomenon too many times. When we go emotional, people just started going, they harassed. And that's all it becomes about. Any valid points anybody may have. And what's so weird is I said, there's some valid points here. I'm just concerned about overreach. That's a super middle of the road opinion, but not good enough, right? And I'm tired of this. I want maximum creative freedom for developers. I want the industry to be profitable because that's good for creative freedom. I want people to feel like they can trust what companies are telling them about products. And I have not felt like I have felt that games marketing has been deceptive for quite some time. As somebody whose job it was to go to E3 and go bullshit, 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 bullshit. I remember remember when they did weekly Halo content, or attempted to, and it lasted about a month before it hit the skids? And I remember asking them, what is your plan? This is ambitious. This is a lot of content. What is your plan for doing weekly content? And there was no answer. At that point, they fucked. And the thing that I find surprising is one of the last years I was at E3 or like really covered it extensively was the year The Crew was being featured. And what I remember about that game is it was an MMO with cars. It was Need for Speed MMO. So fast forward, 11 or 12 years, and all of a sudden people didn't know it was an MMO with cars? Okay, that's interesting. But does that mean other people's opinions aren't valid? No, of course not. It's totally valid. I mean, we were on my Discord, we were comparing the box in North America that very clearly says online connection required with the box from France that was a little less clear. And if people, I got caught. I've got Ghostwire Tokyo sitting on my PS5 taking up space because I got it off the PSN, and I know if I delete it, I can't get the game again. Because it's basically rented. If anything happens to PS4, I don't own the game. Now, I've accepted a long time ago, I don't own any of my games. If I lose access to my Steam account, those are all gone. And I have been very concerned about the fact that I don't think the online stores are doing quite enough to make account retrieval easy, like feasible. These are things we got to work out, but we got to do it calmly, because these aren't the idea that turning off online access to a game means art is lost, culture is lost. I guess that's true, but you can't legislate every single self-published book on Amazon being preserved. And while I think that voluntary cultural preservation, like we used to do back in the day with time capsules, that's a lofty goal. I think that the minute that starts getting legislated, there are winners and losers. And I mean, that's part of the reason we're in such a mess right now with the whole, DEI thing, that there's now all these like, oh, well, if it's women, it's good. And if it's, here it's indigenous stuff that's super forwarded. And I support that. I think that's really, really great. I think, unfortunately, some of the heavy-handed way it's been done has created a backlash instead of something that's more, more digestible. If you force something on people without giving them a chance to understand it, you're gonna get a backlash. And I don't think that James Gunn expected the comment about Superman being an immigrant to be at all contentious, considering the character has been around since, again, 1938. The Krypton origin was in Superman the movie in 1979. It's an accepted part of his origin. And he said that we're not doing the rocket from Krypton the same way he never wants to see Batman's mother's pearls ever again on a screen. We get it. Holy shit. And I wholeheartedly agree. And the fact that a guy can't make a movie about a kind person without everyone getting mean tells me that this movie and other movies like it are necessary. And one person in the comments said that, they hope this is sort of the end of Homelander is based. And it won't be. And I'd like to amend that a little bit, because I love Superman. Right? But I also like what the boys did. And you need the melody of straight shot Superman, right? Superman. To have Homelander, right? You can't have Homelander become the center, because then it's not satire anymore, right? I mean, Superman is such a well-known symbol that when you're playing Claire Obscure and you get Eski's flight ability and you just leave him sitting in the air for a bit, he does the Superman pose. And I'm like, oh my God, like there's three things I loved to do in that game more than anything else. Time for a swim, which has Eski galloping into the surf, have him take off and say, reach for the sky, have him do the Superman pose, and then have him like do a cannonball into the water. I spent a ridiculous amount of time doing that. It was pure joy. And I really, just based on all the stuff about the dog, there was so much marketing about the dog. And it's very clear. They tried to show, like, this is a movie about a man and his dog. There's other things. Everybody has stuff in their life. He's got a wife. He's got a guy who hates his guts. Hey, it's relatable. But the idea that one comment in an interview that was not controversial, Superman is a fictional form of immigrant. And we talked about this on the server, and I said that, I don't think that you can neatly apply a modern immigrant narrative to Superman. But if people wanna see themselves in that aspect of the character, that's fantastic. And that's different than saying it's about immigration. I find that very hard to believe. I'm seeing the movie tonight. We'll see. But part of kindness, means giving things a chance and not going on the attack right away. And especially when you are advocating for something, when you're trying to make change. James Gunn is trying to turn the page on the superhero film, right? It's gonna be an uphill battle. The stuff I advocate for, changes to the way mental health services are provided. I don't think that it should just be go to therapy. I think we need a continuum of a lot of stuff. We need to encourage non-clinical supports for mental health, notably men's mental health, because men are much less likely to go to therapy. It's expensive for everybody, but there needs to be a more holistic approach. I know I can't go in and just scream at people. I know I can't say, you're uninformed, do research. And no, that's not going to work. Same way we can't, force the trans issue. Resident Alien did this really awesome thing this season where it's sort of a coming out metaphor, but it's done in Resident Alien style. And it's sort of played for laughs, but it's also poignant. And oh my God, anybody who sees that as woke misses the point. And there are so many people missing the point on things. One, because of false certainty, Two, because they just want people to submit. They want control. They want the fact that they have good intentions to be the only thing that matters. They're not willing to listen to how to refine their approach. And obviously this is not true across the board, right? And, it's interesting that the people who are in power right now, arresting 30,000 immigrants just this month, are so fragile about this. Why do they care if somebody made a movie about a white immigrant? I thought that's not who they were focusing on. They were only focused on the criminals, right? Why does this matter? Interesting question, right? And I have never felt like my job is to soothe. My job as a reporter, and it's funny because people used to joke that I was Lois Lane at E3 because I'd go in and EA lost my appointment every single fucking time. And I just literally at times I had to put my foot in the door and say, when should I come back? Later. I have a full schedule. Give me a time. And I wouldn't leave because I got bumped for Felicia fucking Day, who didn't have an appointment. She was a drop-in. And that was Dragon Age Inquisition. Maybe that franchise should have made more friends, right? Tactics matter. How you say things matters. And kindness matters. I am getting less and less tolerant of people who make excuses for losing their shit on people. Partially because I'm angry that some people who legitimately do care about, a lot of people signed the petition, the EU petition, in really good faith. Again, I have no problem with that petition. I think do civic participation. Do it. Okay? I don't have to agree with every little thing. It is good that you do civic participation. I would just appreciate more kindness towards people who went through the Jack Thompson years and have a visceral response to any legislative solution to games. If you have Superman New Deal level trust in your government, great. Can they fight Amazon, Apple, Microsoft, Netflix, all the big tech giants? Can they fight them? If you think so, great. Great. I am not as confident. And if somebody can't even make a Superman movie without shit going sideways, nothing's easy. And I think that is what people are laboring under. And things can be easier. And the way they are easier is kindness. And sometimes it's more effective. Well, it's always more effective to listen to someone's concerns and address them than just lecture them. And more often than not, I heard the same things over and over and over again this week, and none of them addressed my concerns, which is legislation must be done very carefully so that a bunch of things that are not only very likely to happen, but have happened in previous waves. We don't want that to happen again. I have always been a much greater advocate for, and video games has an incredible track record. We despite all the noise, we are a pretty kind community. You know, you don't see DC and Marvel congratulating themselves on game releases the way you see major game publishers doing it. Sucker Punch congratulating Naughty Dog, you know, taking the high ground. You see that in games. You don't see that in other industries. It's dog eat dog. Sorry, crypto. We are actually really great in terms of developers listening. You know, video game developers listen a lot faster most of the time than, you know, Disney did on the MCU. Oh my God. They were what, about 6 projects too late on that one? Because they're nope, we've shoveled shit out and people ate it. And that's, again, my problem with consumer. Because that's the attitude when you have consumers. Games have players, right? Games have players. And that matters. Because we have yet, and as I said in the video, and one of the things that was really hurtful is that people didn't connect to the beauty in us not quite knowing what games are and how to treat them yet. This is a marvel. And it's really cool that people can make, you know, something like Balatro that is super simple, but you'll play it forever. Or like a really in-depth single-player experience like RimWorld or Timberborn. You know, a very arty, esoteric, something like Clair Obscur or 100 Line. Or, you know, a behemoth of a game like Assassin's Creed Shadows. Or Death Stranding. Or I shouldn't even compare those two. They're totally different. Kojima Productions is its own thing. They're not a major publisher. And then we got stuff like World of Warcraft and, you know, Destiny 2 and, you know, a bunch of stuff that I never got into because it was like, well, I go back and forth on World of Warcraft. I shouldn't say I never got into World of Warcraft. I have a love-hate relationship with that game. But Because the thing about World of Warcraft is it's what the experience it allows you to have with friends, right? It's not so much the game itself. The game is absurd enough and whimsical enough and colorful enough to inspire these really cool interactions with the people you're playing with. As opposed to something like Destiny, where people got hardcore into Destiny, and I didn't, because I saw Bungie slide into an anti-player mentality that was increasingly a money farm with less and less single-player content that was meaningful. And we went from this, very, very robust single-player experience with that cool couch co-op in Halo, and game by game by game, it eroded away until the campaigns got shorter and shorter, and the Forge took on more and more and more prominence. And I stopped playing. I stopped playing Bungie stuff. Granted, they fucked me on my Destiny demo, too. They let too many people in the room. And was like, oh, you can watch over someone's shoulder. It's like, I don't cover games I watch. I cover demos I play. Well, we don't have enough space. It's very popular. Do you want a t-shirt? Fuck you. And when they treat the press like that these companies are allegedly afraid of, I'm like, how are they going to treat consumers? Not great. They don't treat players that well. They fuck around, they find out, they fix it eventually. But if people like Destiny, I get why. Not every game's for everyone. But if I had the power to stop every anti-consumer practice that I see in games, every anti-player practice that I see in games, thank God I don't have that power. And I don't think anybody should have that power. I don't think anybody should have the power to say what new media, what new stories people are allowed to tell, what new types of games people are allowed to make, what sort of risks within reason. I'm talking about risk with your money, not with your life and whatnot. What kind of risks people, even with life. I mean, I think signing up for Neuralink is crazy. Other people disagree, right? Whatever, for science. I don't think there should be too many restrictions on that stuff. I think there should be restrictions on fraud. I think there should be restrictions on taking people's money and running. I'll disagree with, I've agreed with from the beginning. But if someone makes a movie you don't like, let people see the movie. Don't go screaming about Superman is woke when you haven't even seen it. Because you're going to like some stuff, and you have liked some stuff that other people don't like. Dead or Alive Extreme 3 volleyball, for instance, right? Like, if you want, and I find Dead or Alive volleyball actually quite fun, right? So I'm not picking something I don't like. But I know there are people that think that game is horrible to women. I disagree. It's all about dressing them in fun clothes and giving them gifts. And then they do, like, beach party. There's nothing anti-women about that. Okay, there's scenes where they shower. It's a little fan servicey, but so the fuck what? Like, really? I'm not, I'm not going to go, this is harmful to women just because the internet thinks I'm ugly, right? No, that's stupid. It's harmless. So when you get into these bellowing about things, you have to be prepared for people to bellow back. And nobody likes that. People just want to be able to enjoy things. Let them really practice a little kindness. It's not that hard. It's all just about not unloading your rage on someone just because you can. It's about thinking, not how have I been told I must be treated in these situations. It's how would I like to be treated? You cannot hope for a better tomorrow via base instincts and the lowest common denominator. Help support this channel. Become a monthly patron, patreon.com/Leanna K, or buy a one-time Leanna Care session for someone who can use it but can't afford it, coffee.com/Leanna K. Thanks for watching. Thanks for those who were cool, and have a great weekend. I'm going to go see Superman.